In a single daring move, I bravely push the little girl out of the way of the moving car. It narrowly misses her. She looks at me, I look at her, but there's not enough time. I've so bravely thrown her out of the way of the moving car. I get hit! I'm sent flying in a bloody heap. Most of my body is broken. People start to crowd around and talk about what an amazing thing I've done for this little girl. I'm rushed to the doctor's office where there's tubes in my mouth breathing for me. I can't eat. I can't sleep. The doctors don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. Is that not the single most comforting thought in the entire world? To me, it was all I could think about. It was the kind of thought I would fall asleep to every night. Now, sometimes I forgot that it's not such a good thing to other people, but to me, it was all I wanted. I would just sit in my room for hours and hours, imagining ways I could save people. But I could never just save them. I'd have to sacrifice myself in the process, have some way to prove that I was important. I mean, I got so desperate that I would be outside and just hope someone would walk in front of a busy street. I would be in the pool and just wish someone would sink to the bottom. I would be on the roof and just want someone to be about to fall off the edge. I don't know why it was so important to me to be more than average, but it's something that's really stuck with me. I remember when I was little and I was in the living room with my dad, and we were listening to ABBA. Okay, yes, my dad's gay. And the song Super Super comes on. My dad convinced me that the lyrics were Super Cooper. Super Cooper, lights are gonna find you, shining like the sun, smiling, having fun, feeling like a number one. I am the amazing Mr. Mormon. Super ability to go to church, pretend I believe in God, and even have everyone outside my immediate family be Mormon and yet not understand a single word from the Book of Mormon. Well, it's Saturday night here and the rule at our house is, if you want to have a sleepover on Saturday, you get to go to church with us in the morning. Did you bring your nice clothes? Me, being the amazing Mr. Mormon, of course I'd already packed my nice clothes the night before. He was always ready for those Saturday nights he would spend at his Mormon family's houses. You see, his best friend, Mitchell Finlayson, Mormon, and he always got to go to church with him. And the best part is they never found out his secret identity. They never knew that the amazing Mr. Mormon was in fact Cooper Lee Smith, who was just a scared little boy who thought he had to lie to make a best friend. But like all heroes, there's a weakness. And the amazing Mr. Mormon was found out. His parents' homosexuality. You see, when these Mormon families found out that his dad was gay and in fact married another man, he lost all his power. I couldn't believe that my best friend of 10 years could just cut all ties. I remember when I told Mitchell, his father was in the room, and I said my dad was marrying another man, and his father looked at me and said, "Do you think it's right for two men to get married?" Well, I was 10 years old at the time, had known and didn't know any better, and my dad had started dating guys when I was so young. I had no idea that it was such a weird thing that when your parents were divorced, that your mom remarries a man and your dad remarries a man. So I said, "Yes, of course. We love each other." And that was the end of the amazing Mr. Mormon. I am Super Son. I have the unique ability to cure addiction. I can't feel cold, and I can even pretend like I don't see tears. You see, there's even days when Super Son's mother would come home after hours of being gone. Her eyes would be red and puffy, and she'd have makeup running down her face. But this didn't affect Super Son. You see, all Super Son had to do was not be a burden, and he was good at that. But there comes a time in every superhero's life when they figured out they're as powerless as everyone else. You see, Super Son's mother had left for the night and asked Super Son to stand guard at the house. Now, his mother had asked him, so he took this job very seriously. But after a couple hours, he let that guard down. There were headlights in the driveway, and he ran out to go see who it was, to go give his mother a hug. But he was tricked. It was just a man turning the car around to go the other way. So failed. But he couldn't disappoint his mother, and he was resourceful. You see, Super Son was 8 years old at the time, and so he had this little body. And he was able to wrap himself up in this big t-shirt he was wearing to stay warm. He waited for hours. He waited until his feet turned blue. It was that night that I realized there was nothing I could ever do that could make my mother change. No matter how much I wanted to save her, no matter how much I wanted to force her to be the mother I thought I needed, no matter how much I wanted her to stop using drugs, I was powerless. I finally waited. My mother finally came home that night after hours. And that was the day the Super Son realized he was never a superhero to begin with. I am the amazing Adderall boy. I don't need Adderall sleep. I don't have to eat, and I don't even think I'm attractive. Here's the thing: the amazing Adderall boy was once Cooper Lee Smith, who always wanted to be the amazing Adderall boy, but to no avail. You see, he was still unfocused. He still did bad in his classes, and he still was too much for people to handle. So when he figured out that there was this super pill that could give him all these superpowers, he was right on it. We think that Adderall is the newest way to fight against ADHD. And we feel that it would really help if you chose to be on this. Well, the amazing Adderall boy agreed. And the next day his parents couldn't be prouder when he became the amazing Adderall boy. And it worked. I mean, he was silent in class, he stopped acting up, he didn't even have to bother eating or sleeping. All the amazing Adderall boy had to do was not be a burden. And he was good at that. I started taking Adderall in 6th grade, and I remember going to this doctor to test and see if I had ADHD. And she made me do all these stupid, simple tests, like I was back in kindergarten. You know, like putting blocks together or answering the question, how do you feel when you see the color blue? Well, as I was taking these tests, I couldn't help but think, did people really see me that way? Did they really think that I couldn't do what every other 6th grader was expected to do? And when the doctor told my parents that I most likely had ADHD, I could tell that there was some relief there. Because there was finally a sort of explanation for the reason why I was the way I was. And my parents really wanted to help. And so we signed on to it, and it did work. I stopped acting up in class, I stopped being so loud, I even lost some weight. Sometimes I feel that that pill is filled with 25 milligrams of my parents' love. And that was the day that the amazing Adderall boy was defeated. I've tried to be a superhero for so long now that it's really, really hard for me to accept myself. When you compare yourself to a superhero, you always end up failing. You end up hating every little part of you that isn't perfect. I guess there's a reason why superheroes only exist on paper, and why little boys like me fall in love with the idea. You see, I have flaws. I have lots of flaws. I'm short, I'm hyper, I lack focus, I'm not very good with organization, I lie, I'm too much for people to handle, I need to be needed, I try way too hard for attention. I have all of these things that make me human. And it's just taken me this time to figure out that I don't have to hate those parts of me. Because I'm done comparing myself. Because I'm not the amazing Mr. Mormon. I am not Super Son, and I'm most definitely not the amazing Adderall boy. I'm just Cooper Lee Smith, an 18-year-old boy who always wanted to be a superhero. I have no superpowers. I can't save anyone. In fact, I'm trying hard just to save myself. And that was the day that Cooper Lee Smith found out he didn't have to be a superhero in order to be loved.